Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking the CSEFL and ASLD frameworks, which, are pretty much the gold standards for early learning, and distilling them down into a highly actionable guide. We're zeroing in on how to foster truly healthy social and emotional development in kids from birth up to age 5. We're going to break down exactly how you can support this incredible journey, whether you're managing a busy early childhood classroom or just hanging out right in your own living room.
Okay, let's just dive right into this really powerful foundational premise. A child's ability to learn, to cooperate, to just get out there and explore, it literally all hinges on their internal sense of self. They absolutely must secure their own identity before they can even begin to manage the wildly complex emotions they feel every day. It's a clear progression, right? First comes myself, and then comes my feelings.
So here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the social-emotional foundation. Then we'll unpack our two core developmental pillars, myself and my feelings. After that, we'll map out the self-regulation trajectory, and finally wrap the whole thing up with an evidence-based adult strategy toolkit. Let's get to it.
Section 1. The social-emotional foundation. Building caring, trusting relationships essentially wires a child's brain from day one. When we consistently read a child's cues, like instantly knowing when a specific cry means they're hungry versus just overtired, and we promptly respond, we're establishing a secure attachment. And that secure base, it is absolutely everything. It literally makes all further exploration possible, simply because the child knows, without a doubt, that they're safe.
Moving on to Section 2, Pillar 1, Myself.
Now, as infants grow into these endlessly curious preschoolers, it's actually fascinating to see how two concepts we constantly mix up are really quite distinct. I'm talking about self-awareness and self-esteem. Self-awareness is all about discovery, like an infant suddenly noticing their own hands, or a toddler figuring out what they like and don't like. Self-esteem, on the other hand, is deeply rooted in secure relationships and taking genuine pride in personal accomplishments. So how do we actually build that initial self-awareness? Well, for infants, positioning unbreakable mirrors right down at floor level is incredibly powerful. When a crawling baby sees their own reflection, it actively helps their developing brain visually decipher physical boundaries. Suddenly, they realize, oh wow, that hand moving over there, that's my hand. It's just a beautiful, natural self-awareness milestone unfolding right before your eyes. Just look at this developmental journey as we move from infancy to preschool. We start with infants noticing their own hands and feet. Then they grow into toddlers who fiercely assert their independence using pronouns like mine, which, by the way, is a perfectly healthy milestone, even if it tests our patience. And finally, they blossom into preschoolers who can verbally name their physical characteristics and clearly assert their exact preferences.
All right, Section 3, Pillar 2, My Feelings.
Okay, so now that the child knows who they are, we hit what we call the toddler gap. Toddlers experience highly complex internal emotions, right? We're talking intense jealousy, massive frustration, deep excitement. But here's the catch. They don't have the verbal vocabulary to express any of it yet. So without the words to say, hey, I'm really frustrated, these massive feelings have nowhere to go but out through physical actions. It's really not a calculated plot against your sanity. It's just a temporary gap in their expressive capability. To bridge that gap, we've got to give them the right tools. Utilizing real photo emotion charts, like a daily feelings check-in board, allows young children to instantly point to a face that matches their internal state. This instantly validates them. Over time, associating that specific photo with the feeling helps them actually vocalize emotions, like happy, sad, or scared, which gradually replaces that physical acting out with language. Next up, Section 4, the self-regulation trajectory.
Let's track this incredible journey of self-regulation. Notice how it dramatically evolves across these three stages. We start at stage 1 with absolute adult intervention. Then we move to stage 2, where soothing begins to emerge with the help of props. And finally, we reach stage 3, which is an internalized, independent capability. Let's break these down a bit more.
Starting with infants, and this is just a fundamental biological fact here, infants simply do not have the neural circuitry to calm themselves down. They completely rely on absolute co-regulation. This means their heart rates and stress levels stabilize entirely through your physical presence. They need an adult to hold them, rock them, and breathe deeply to soothe their primitive nervous systems. In that moment, you are literally their external regulator.
But as they grow into toddlers, we start seeing the very beginnings of independence with emergent soothing.
Now, they still absolutely need you, but they start relying on familiar transition objects. A favorite blanket, a pacifier, maybe a beloved teddy bear. When you combine providing that comfort object with a few calm, reassuring words, you help them weather a minor emotional shift or distress. They're actively learning how to find comfort in familiar things.
And by the time we hit the preschool stage, we really see internalized calming take shape. At ages 3, 4, and 5, children can actually begin to identify a problem and a solution. With a little guidance, they can independently access a designated safe place or intentionally use a visual breathing mat to take a deliberate, deep breath, physically shifting their own internal state. It's a massive, massive developmental leap. Bringing us to our final section, Section 5, the Adult Strategy Toolkit. Now, understanding the development is great and all, but let's look at some practical tools. Consider the stark difference in how we give praise. We're all so conditioned to give generic feedback, like good job or you're so smart. But look at the alternative, descriptive feedback. Saying something like, wow, you kept trying to balance those blocks even when they fell, and you built a tall tower, focuses entirely on their effort. By simply changing our language, we build a resilient self-esteem that doesn't rely entirely on constant adult approval.
So here is your toolkit of CSEFEL-aligned practices. Implementing these can literally change the entire dynamic you have with a child. Think about actively labeling emotions in real time, saying something like, your face is tight, you look really frustrated. Or integrating literature by pausing during a storybook to ask, hey, how do you think this character feels right now? And honestly, one of my absolute favorites, offering choices. Asking a toddler, would you like the square cracker or the round cracker, gives them this wonderful sense of control and independence. It turns a potential power struggle into a highly positive developmental moment.
As we wrap up this explainer, we really must remember one absolute core truth. A child's social-emotional health is the foundation for all academic learning. A child has to feel totally secure in who they are and safe with what they feel before they can ever truly master cognitive tasks or thrive in a busy classroom environment. It all starts here. So I'll leave you with this thought to carry into your day. How can you take a simple, routine interaction, maybe a directive you give every single day, and actually turn it into an empowering choice? How will you use that exact moment to foster their independent self-regulation today? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I highly encourage you to put these strategies into practice right away.